You're listening to the AFTERBUZZ TV network, now the largest new media platform on the web, and your #1 source for after-show entertainment.
Very good, Dean Johnson.
From the AFTERBUZZ Studios in Los Angeles, California, presented by Maria Menounos and streaming live thanks to Akamai Technologies, this is AFTERBUZZ TV's The Real Housewives of Orange County After Show. We'll break down tonight's episode and get you all the latest news and gossip. And now, another post-game wrap-up show for your favorite TV show. It's AFTERBUZZ TV's The Real Housewives of Orange County After Show.
Just a friend, and you say he just a friend. Oh, baby, you got what I need.
Welcome. It's the After Show, The Real Housewives of Orange County, here at AFTERBUZZ TV, Season 9, Episode 5. I am your host, CJ Simpson, and my co-host on the phone, Courtney Stewart. Hello.
Hello, what's up, everybody?
What's up? Sterling Kate's out tonight, so we are joined by Courtney Stewart. Now, I couldn't care less this episode. Drama, drama, drama. It seems like, as we just heard, friends, how many of us have them? Not many of these ladies are going to turn out as friends, huh, Courtney?
Not turn out as friends. I don't think they started as friends. It is such a mess, and they are such mean girls. It's crazy.
Yes, and speaking of mean girls, I think Vicki leads the pack as mean girls, but I'm finding it kind of strange that Vicki and Shannon are like new besties, because it's usually Vicki and Tamara who are always together, doing everything together, but now we see Vicki just clicking with Shannon, which is pretty amazing, being that Vicki doesn't click with anyone.
It is amazing, but I think she clicks because she clicks with people that she doesn't feel threatened by.
Very true.
She doesn't feel threatened by Shannon. Shannon's got her kids, and she's, you know, in her age bracket, so she feels comfortable with her and her quirkiness.
Yeah, I actually love Shannon's quirkiness now. Some people would think that that would drive them crazy, but for me, I actually really am fond of Shannon. I love her on this show.
Yeah, she's been, like, funny comic relief, like last week with her husband and the awkwardness of them trying to, like, have a relationship.
Yeah, have relations.
It's cute to watch, and it's a nice breath of fresh air on the show.
It is, but let's talk further about Vicki and Shannon now. The whole acupuncture. Vicki goes to Shannon's doctor to get acupuncture, Dr. Moon. And and I don't know how you're supposed to relax in a room getting acupuncture when your friend is in there screaming about the needles being put in your back.
Yeah, exactly. They're both like equally ridiculous together. That's why it works.
Yeah, and Vicki's like, I want to check my emails.
Strong, it's insane.
They are, and Vicki is like, I've got to, you know, Shannon's like, relax, relax. Oh my gosh, the needles. But then at the same time, she's like, you've got to relax. And then Vicki is saying, you know, I just want to check my emails for this 15 minutes. And Shannon's like, no, like, who checks their emails while you're getting acupuncture?
Getting acupuncture. And Dr. Moon's just like, thank you for my $100, ladies. You guys are insane.
Yeah, could you please get out? Thanks for the shout out on television. But then they move into Vicki's office and the whole feng shui thing. Now, I've never followed the whole feng shui movement as much as I have with this show because of Shannon. And Shannon believes in feng shuiing everything in her life. And so now that Vicki, including her mouth, as we've seen in previous episodes, but now that Vicki has now latched on to Shannon, now Vicki's going to feng shui her office.
Yes, and I think it is probably one of the better ideas that she's had in her life, because Vicki is crazy, and Vicki needs her whole life energy like set straight because she's insane. And if feng shui will help, then by all means get all the plants and water parts that you need to make that happen.
What about the oranges? The lady said, you need a basket of oranges here, and I want your employees to eat them. Eat the oranges. I want your employee, David, or the guy, I want him to have pictures of you in his office. I would be mad if I was him. I was like, I don't want pictures of my boss in my office.
That was really strange. I'm like, I don't know that much about feng shui, but these are some new things that I wasn't aware of. I thought it was mostly about the elements of like earth and water and fire and that. I didn't know that your picture and they need to eat oranges. Like, I don't know where that came
and put
from
a plant and a lamp in your supply room. I just didn't get it. But so let's move on to another relationship. Vicki, when she is introduced to new people, as we talked about this earlier, Courtney, you said when Vicki is not threatened. Well, we were introduced to Lizzie the last episode when Tamra found out they both live in the same neighborhood and they were at the ugly sweater party. And so Lizzie is brought into this episode again, and now all of the ladies are meeting Lizzie. And who is the first one that has a problem with Lizzie, which I found it interesting that she didn't have a problem with Danielle, but just Lizzie. But who was it that had the problem with Lizzie? Of course.
Of course. Shocker, shocker. OG housewife.
Yes. Vicki is
Vicki
not
Numbleton.
having it. I mean, Vicki called her everything from a pageant girl to, you know, just, I mean, it was just so disrespectful, especially in the car ride over to, they were getting together for the holidays, and it was all of the ladies, and this was Lizzie's first encounter with everyone, and it just was not a pretty picture.
It's rude, and it's so funny because Vicki is so much about like how being respected as a woman and all of this stuff, and the rudest thing you can do to somebody is call them out of their name or like not be respectful of what their name is. And she always does that. She just randomly like, oh, Lizzie, Izzy, Fizzy, whatever. Like, it's so rude.
Yeah, whatever her name is.
And she knows nothing about the girl. She just sees big boobs and, you know, a cute face or whatever, and she assumes automatically that this girl's a problem, which totally goes against her, like, mantra for, like, superpower woman, like, girl powerness.
Yeah, the whole name thing bothered me as well because she's like, Lizzie, I mean, how old is she? Is she not a grown woman to have the name of Lizzie? Well, her name is Lizzie. Get over it. Like, don't judge her on the girl's name. And then the fact that she totally threw, you'd think that she would click with her because Lizzie said she was valedictorian of her class in college in Kentucky. I mean, that is a pretty high honor, valedictorian. I wasn't valedictorian. I don't know about you. I mean, I had straight A's. But
even if there are only like 50 people in your class, that's still a big deal.
You still were the best.
You worked hard for that.
Yeah, and so when she said that, Vicki was just kind of like, oh, were you the only one in your class? And I just expected more out of Vicki, like you said, with the whole woman empowerment. And it was just disappointing how she just brushed that off to the wind, too.
Exactly. And I actually think it's cool, though, that Tamra, instead of, because I can remember in past seasons with Tamra being sort of like, I'm the hottest housewife, and when like an attractive, like when Gretchen came along and things like that, she was intimidated and would, you know, kind of get mean girl catty with those girls. But in this situation, Tamra's like a newer person. Like, she's confident in herself, and she's fine, and she's cool with Lizzie.
Yeah, I think that has to. Yeah, I think that has to do with Eddie, with her being married to Eddie. I think it's a different side of Tamra that we're seeing than when she was in her past marriage. But I did appreciate that of Tamra as well. And I liked about Lizzie is that she didn't back down from Vicki. She wasn't afraid of Vicki at all. She came right back to her, you know, and then Vicki, you know, ordered shots for everyone, which she did, which I felt everybody is kind of on edge. You know, you always think in those situations when somebody's already thrown a kind of dagger at you, you're always kind of over-analyzing. So when Vicki ordered shots for everyone, we heard Vicki say, let's order shots for everyone. And then they only brought out 5 and not 6. You know, I think Lizzie kind of took that a little too personal, but she stood up to Vicki. She was like, it takes so much extra effort to you know, not order everyone a shot.
Yeah, she called her out right in front of everybody.
She did, and I like that about her. But
for sure, but I didn't like that. Then Vicki, like, okay, fine, you know, you say I ordered it for everyone, but then she has to scream it like 800 times. I ordered it for everybody. It's
oh
like,
my gosh, your voice sounded just like
Vicki's
Vicki's there. Oh my gosh, Vicki's voice drives me bananas. Yeah. Because whenever she gets on that screaming kick, she just keeps going and going and going and going. So that drives.
Which is funny that her commentary is always about, oh, she's so childish and her name's Lizzie. Like, you're being childish by screaming 800 times.
Oh, yes. It drives me bananas. But it's going to be interesting to see how this continues. I found it odd that Tamra was the one that got up from the table with Lizzie to go to the bathroom. They talked about, obviously, Vicki and how she was rude. And then when they came back to the table, Vicki you know, Vicki was like, what did you have, diarrhea? I was like, oh gosh, like, what are you, come on,
really?
like, you were in the bathroom too long. It's like everybody takes everything so personal. It's like they're counting like little milliseconds of everything to hold on to, and that's bothersome. But
sure. It is obnoxious. And also, Vicki is, when she yells at Tamra, she's like, don't take her side, or don't start defending her, like, because she was upset about the drink. And I'm like, calm down.
Right.
Why is everybody so hype already?
It just always seems like once you're friends with one person, when it comes to Vicki, it's like you're not allowed to share that friendship. And I just don't like that, because Vicki, here you are, you have a new friend, you have Shannon, so why can't Tamra have a new friend? I mean,
exactly.
Come on, you're grown women. Grown women have multiple friends. You don't just have to have one bestie, you know? So let's just move on from that. But speaking of grown women, how about the argument with Heather and Shannon over the chairs?
I had to rewind that about 3 times to figure out what the hell happened. Like, why are they fighting about this chair? And I get that, I guess Vicki is the one that actually told Heather to move, but I feel like Heather, she's kind of started to bother me in this season. Like, in the past, I thought it was, like, cute, like, annoying cute.
Oh,
that she was annoying, but now it's, like, really juvenile, even though she's acting like it's not juvenile. The whole, like, I'm going to go back to my seat, and I'm going to sit here because this is where I wanted to sit.
Yes.
I'm like, how old are we? That's like me and my sisters fighting over who sits where at the kitchen table when we're like 7.
Right. She's such a know-it-all, and I feel like that's where this is deeper rooted. It all started back at the restaurant when it was Heather, Tamra, and Shannon, and Heather kind of threw some shots at Shannon when Shannon said she feng shuied her mouth, which we already said she's feng shuied everything, and she had like $20,000 worth of feng shui put in her mouth, and Heather kind of took shots at her then. And so we've seen this ongoing. And then, you know, when Heather came to Shannon's house for the dinner, she wasn't involved in anything fun. Of course, Heather never is. And she didn't, you know, she didn't take her shot. Even in this episode, she didn't take the shot at the table when everybody else were taking a shot of tequila. Heather still cheers and wouldn't take the shot. So, you know,
she only drinks the champ.
She drives me nuts just because she always has to be right. And it doesn't seem like that this situation with Shannon and Heather is going to be resolved at all this season. I just don't see them becoming friends. If they're going to argue over a chair, and then Heather continuously was just beating down Shannon, saying she was angry and scary. Now, if that is scary in life, if Shannon is scary, I would hate to see what she looks like when she goes to a scary movie, because nothing about Shannon was scary.
What have you been seeing in your life as scary? Because she just came back and said, if you want the chair, you can have the chair. Like, what was aggressive or hostile about that at all?
Nothing at all. I just feel like Heather wanted everybody to be on her side, so she was trying to make it seem like Shannon was this angry, scary person that they shouldn't be around, when it was not that at all. It was a chair. I mean, come on. You're in a group of what? 6? Slide down. Who cares? Who cares who you're sitting beside? But then, of course, the chair argument continues on when Heather and Danielle go to the bathroom, and Shannon and Danielle go to the bathroom, and Heather comes up with the great idea of, hey, when they're in the bathroom, why don't we all change seats? So, of course, Shannon comes back and didn't really care about that situation either.
And I wonder if, I just would have never thought, because it seemed like Heather obviously in the past was a little bit snooty, you know, but she was the one that was the know-it-all, but she was still somewhat refined, and she was kind, and it wasn't over the top, I guess. I wonder if what is it that she feels, because she has to be feeling some kind of way to be so... she's not very nice to Shannon at all. And obviously she feels some kind of infringement upon her relationships because of Shannon. And I can't figure out what it is. Is it because there's another super rich person that has like the same lot in their neighborhood?
Right. That's exactly what I was about to say, Courtney. I was about to say it is the money, because obviously I think Heather was probably the richest. Well, from the exterior, you know, they said they were the only one in the neighborhood who had that many garages or whatever they said a couple of episodes back. But now that there's someone else who may have as much, if not more money than her and her husband Terry, I'm thinking that maybe that's it. Maybe she wants to be the richest person on this show, which is ridiculous. But she would not say that they live in the same neighborhood, because we know Heather is they bought a new lot. They're going to build a new house. They're even going to have a party to break the ground of the new house, which I think is absolutely ridiculous. But she's planning a party at the lot of where they bought, where they're going to break the ground to build their new house. And Shannon and her husband have bought a lot in the same neighborhood. But when Shannon mentions that, Heather's like, no, we don't live in it. It's not in the same neighborhood. I mean, that clearly shows that it's about the money, right?
I assume, but it's still so, it's so insane. And of all things that I thought Heather was, I never thought, she always was seemingly intelligent and fairly rational, when the other girls are like screaming at each other and being ridiculous. So for her to be so unnecessarily snide to Shannon and the whole neighborhood thing, it's still weird to me. I guess females in competition, it just doesn't work for them on these shows.
Yeah, I obviously not. Heather just drives me nuts. I think Shannon's going to be my new person on this show, my new favorite. I don't know much about Lizzie yet, but from the previews of the show, it seems like Lizzie's going to be a pretty racy person. Now, we know she has 2 kids, and her husband, we found out about her family this episode. Her and her husband, Christian, Christian likes the routine of his lifestyle. He goes to work, he comes home, she cooks dinner, they play with the kids, he goes to sleep. And Lizzie seems to be not too thrilled about that, because she wants more romance in her relationship. So I'm sure we'll find out more about that. What did you think about her home life?
I think it was, the kids are adorable, and the husband, I mean, they're young and, new family, so they look like they're doing well, and hopefully all is right in the world, as the Housewives have shown us in every franchise. Everything isn't usually what it seems when we start out, but she seems happy and loving and asserting her own self and career and what she wants in life still, even though, the husband may not have totally wanted it that way. Right.
She has her swimsuit line, and we also found out that she got pregnant maybe hours after they got married. And so she had their first son, hilarious. Preston, and then 9 months later she was pregnant with Kingston. So they really haven't had a lot of alone time in their marriage. And I have a feeling we're going to probably learn more about that in the future, but we'll just have to wait and see. But talking about the super rich, when we were talking about the competition between Heather and Shannon, now it really shows that you are super rich, and I like to say super rich, when you have $20,000 worth of Christmas decorations. Did you catch that?
Decorations.
Yeah, and you have 2 live trees. One is for the room that no one goes in, so why would you have a tree there? Mm-hmm. And the other is for the room that everyone does go in. And you have to take pictures of how you decorated the year before, because you have so many decorations that you have to know where they go the next year.
Yes.
$20,000. How about that?
Well, at least that's the one thing I do like about Shannon, because she at least recognizes that it's kind of insane. She's like, I can't believe I said that. But yeah, it's about $20,000. What can I say? So there's still an element of her that feels like it's still down to earth and grounded in reality, even though it's still crazy. But
it's not my reality, but on this show, it's a pretty good reality.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, she was like, I don't splurge much, but on Christmas decorations, I splurge. I'm like thinking about,
obviously.
What about that chandelier that she said was like $140,000 or something like that? I think you splurged on that as well. So, and then we also saw Tamara talking to her son this episode. Her son Ryan. I had actually forgotten about him until I saw him on this episode, and he actually helps manage her fitness company, Cut Fitness. And what did you think about her interaction with Ryan on this episode?
All I could think is, oh my God, they've been on this show for what, 6 years, and Ryan is in the exact same place as he was before. The only difference is he doesn't live with her. And I'm just like, is he ever? I mean, it's on the one hand, it's kind of like he's still pretty young. I assume he's like 26, 27 by now, maybe a little bit older. So he's still got like that whole time to figure it out sort of thing, I guess. But the fact that she's still having to ask the same questions, like, what do you want to do with yourself? Like, why are you not doing more? Like, why? It's kind of sad to watch her have to keep doing that.
Yeah, and the fact that he's like, I don't know, Mom, like, leave me alone. Like, he totally like blows up and gets upset about it. It's like, come on, dude, like, have a dream or aspiration or just something. Like, give us
at least have something. Like, be like, well, I'm not exactly sure, but right now I really like doing this. So my plan for now is this. Like,
even if he's changed. Even if he said, you know, I just want to run your company forever. I mean, at least that's saying something, right?
Yeah, exactly. Instead of getting hostile and being like, I don't know, I don't like questions about my future.
Yeah.
Okay.
So what did you think about, they actually brought up Brooks at the end of the episode once they were at dinner after the whole, you know, chair rearranging situation and argument. They brought up Brooks to Vicki. Well, Vicki kind of brought up Brooks because Vicki was saying that she still had to go to the office that night. I mean, they were already taking shots of tequila and drinking. I was like, I don't know about going to the office and doing a PowerPoint after that. But Vicki said she still had to go to work, and Tamara was like, oh, or someone was like, oh, you're lying. You're going to meet Brooks. And she was like, oh, no. I told him to be in bed waiting for me tonight. I was shocked that she kind of threw that out there, but it led to them opening up, hey, why don't we ever get to hang out with him?
Yeah. I was grossed out that she said that because the thought of Brooke being naked in her bed when she gets home is appalling.
Yeah, I don't want to think about that either.
I mean,
either way, I don't want to think about Vicki or Brooks.
On like anybody else,
but
don't want to hear about it.
No.
But I don't think it's a coincidence. Everybody knows Brooks is a mess, like, except Vicki. So when Tamara she sort of mumbled to, I think she was talking to Lizzie. That he's just not a good guy. I'm on their team. Like, there's nothing I've seen of Brooks that makes me, like, buy him as a good human being.
Yeah, I'm not feeling him at all. At all. So, let's get into some of the predictions because we saw the previews for the rest of the season, and Brooks was a part of that. So let's talk about
AfterBuzz TV predictions.
Yeah, let's talk about the predictions. What do you think about what's going to happen with Brooks and Vicki?
Well, Brooks and Vicki, word on the street was she was with somebody else anyway at an event recently, so he's apparently out of the picture now. So it'll be interesting to see how that relationship, if it's dissolving in this season, I can't wait to see how it finally dissolves and how Vicki finally catches a clue.
Yeah.
But I think of all the previews that I'm like, what is going on about is when Tamara runs off from the event or restaurant or whatever they were at, and she runs away, screaming like, I'll never be back again, and Vicki's crying, and I was like, what just happened? So I'm really interested in that.
Yeah, and I think that may have happened right after they showed us the preview of Lizzie telling Tamara, I don't want to sleep with your husband, you're so insecure. And so that was crazy. I'm like, whoa, you talking about hooking someone. I really want to see what's going on with that. And also, how about the argument that Terry and David are going to have in a future episode? I was like, how did that happen? And that's
Terry doesn't yell at anybody.
And he was going at David. Like, and it seems like David is somebody who doesn't have a clue. So what did he do wrong to get yelled at? And then last but not least, Vicki. What do you think about Vicki? They showed her getting sick. Do you think it's going to be something major, or what do you think?
I was trying to recall, like, I don't recall in gossip papers or anything about her having been hospitalized for anything or crazy like that. So I thought it was probably some kind of crazy, sick panic attack. Something went wrong with Brooks.
Right.
And now it's gotten super dramatic for her. So I don't know.
We'll have to find out next week whenever we will return with the Real Housewives of Orange County. We'll have to check out and see what happens. Now, Courtney, tell everybody where we can find you.
You guys can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Stuart Starlet.
And you can find me, CJ Simpson _ on Twitter and on Instagram at CJ Simpson _. Thank you so much, Courtney. And you have just checked out The Real Housewives of Orange County Season 9, Episode 5 here at AfterBuzz TV.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.
Thank you for watching AfterBuzz TV on YouTube. For more of your favorite after shows and interviews, subscribe to our channel here, and be sure to share your opinion on the episode in the comment section below here. We'd love to see what you guys are buzzing about. Thanks again. Buzz you later.